Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of the Monsters Den in the co-captain's chair. Once again, Mr. Rich Catino. What's happening, my friend?
Everybody? Happy holidays, as I have my tree in the background, if you can see.
That's right. Happy holidays, as I have my, the same stuff I always have. But
and I have my, I don't know if you can see it, my Silent Night, Deadly Night shirt.
Very cool, yeah. I need more horror shirts. I don't nearly have enough horror or monster shirts because I have too much of other stuff. I have like a million band shirts. I've got like a million comic book shirts. I need to get some cool horror shirts. I've been eyeing some. I've seen a couple of Godzilla shirts, some like Christopher Lee stuff, and like Frankenstein. Yeah. Oh, there's so many great ones. Many great ones. So speaking of horror, so tonight, by popular demand, because the part one of Stephen King film adaptations has done so well, I asked Rich if he'd like to join me on a part two, because quite frankly, there's a lot of Stephen King film adaptations. And the more you kind of rewatch some of these, a lot of them actually hold up pretty well. So I asked Rich to pick out 3 additional ones, not ones that we covered on the previous episode. I've done the same. So we each have a triple feature Stephen King horror, thriller, suspense for you tonight. And I'm going to have Rich kick us off with his first choice.
All right. So my first one, after I revisited it, I'm not that big of a fan of it anymore.
Really?
I am, but I'm not, because it's a little slow. Because it was a TV series, a mini series. So it's long. It's like 3 hours, but Salem's a lot. But the vampire is still great.
Yeah.
And the last, I'd say 30 to 45 minutes is really good. But getting to that point, it takes a little bit of time, because the events that happen in Salem, in Maine, it's a lot of buildup, and you don't really see the vampire until way into the story. And even when you see the vampire, it just shows up with like a back shot with like the cloak. And then they do a cutaway because it was made for TV. So a lot of the shots and stuff are just, they go to black, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I was kind of bored. So I don't know. It was, let me see, it came out in 1979. It was a mini series. It was directed by Tobe Hooper.
Yeah.
Which is great. He
Texas
did
Chainsaw Massacre.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Funhouse.
Yep.
So you had a great director behind it. And the lead guy is David Soul, who was Hutch from Starsky and Hutch.
Yep. If
anybody remembers that TV show from the 80s.
And then you got James Mason, right, who plays the, great role for him.
Yeah. Yes, he plays, what does he play? What character was that again?
He's that old guy who's kind of like the rich guy who is in cahoots with the vampire, and
Yes.
I forget his name, but
right, he's the one that kind of protects the coffin and kind of brings him his people that he's going to fight.
Yep.
And he lives in the house too, where the vampire is in the basement in the coffin.
Yep.
So yeah, out of the 3 hours, it's kind of a slow, and the moments where the vampire bites somebody, it's always from behind and it goes to black. You really don't see anything. But the best scene, I think, is when the windows they're all in the kitchen, and the windows start blowing out and the wind's blowing around, and like the spirits in the house, and the vampire's there, but you don't see him yet. But all of a sudden, there's like this black sheet on the ground, and you only realize it's there. And it's actually the vampire already in the room. So then it rises up, and then it turns, and you actually get the reveal of what the vampire looks like. So that was really cool. That's probably the best moment, I would say, in the whole.
That is a really good scene, yeah.
Really good scene. And the vampire looks really cool. It's very Nosferatu looking. You know, it's kind of got a bluish, purplish tint to the skin.
Yep.
The teeth are a little weird. Not your traditional,
really pointy ears,
Yeah, not the two, what do they call that, the eye teeth?
Yeah.
With the 2 regular in the front. This is the 2 front ones.
Yeah. So
it's a little bit of a different design, but it's very Nosferatu looking, so it looks pretty cool. And yeah, it's just a little bit too slow, I think, and you don't get too many moments with the vampire, but the best I would say is the last half hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah, I will say I'm a fan, and I've been enjoying that film. I remember watching that when it first debuted, and it was it's like ABC. I don't even remember like what network it was on. And was that 2 or 3 night?
I think it was a three.
I think it was a
Night, 'cause
three.
it's
I think,
3
yeah, I think
hours.
you're right. Yeah, I think it was a 3 night.
Mm.
And I think, back in the day, watching it on 3 successive nights or whatever it was, I think that works because you're taking it in smaller chunks. I
Right.
think to watch the entire thing in one sitting, and just so everybody, knows, that's
Yeah.
there he is right there.
Yeah.
Taking it all in one sitting, it is a little slow. And I
Yeah.
think they spend a lot of time trying to get to know the people of the town and all the
Right.
characters, and
Yeah.
not enough time kind of getting to business.
Yeah.
But I will say the acting is pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, I love the vampire, and I think the scenes where he's in it, I think, are amazing.
Uh-huh.
I still enjoy it, but yeah, I think if you were to take that whole miniseries,
Yeah.
condense it down to maybe 2 hours, 2 hours
Right.
15,
Right.
you have a pretty good movie there.
It would work better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking about this when I saw the cover again. What metal band totally ripped off this cover for their album cover?
Ghost.
Ghost. I never put two and two together until I always thought of it and I couldn't think of the movie. And then when I saw it today again, I was like, shit, it's Salem's Lot. So yeah, very cool. First
Just
album.
one more thing to say that Ghost is unoriginal about, right?
Right? It was the first album that they did that
Yeah.
is total ripoff for this cover.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Oh boy, but I dig it though. I think it's still pretty good. Like I said, trim it down a little bit, and you have a really tight film.
Yeah.
And there's some good chills in the movie, I think. But again,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. There's long stretches of just kind of like dialogue and just not much happening, and I think that kind of blocks the flow a little bit. So to speak. Yeah.
But when they get into they get to the house and they are looking for the vampire, and you get to see its lair, and you can see where all the vampires have been stored with sleeping around its coffin. Things like that. It gets moody and it works a lot better.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, so my first choice today is kind of is what you call a horror comedy anthology, and of course I'm talking about 1982's Creepshow, which it's part of this collection I've got here, so it's actually right there, and that's the kind of poster right there. I know it's kind of hard to see.
That's a great collection.
Also, yeah, this is great. I just got this recently. And this was actually directed by George Romero, right? So everybody knows from the Return of the Living Dead, not Return of the Living Dead, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, the whole Dead series. And this was a pretty big deal when this was released. Because you have a couple of Stephen King short stories and screenplays that he did, meeting up with this, at the time very popular horror director. And the anthology films are exactly as they mean. So it's basically all these little kind of short stories starring all sorts of big time actors. Some of the stories were kind of humorous, some were a little more serious. I think so many really, really fun little segments in this film. Then you had Tom Savini, who did most of the gore effects, right? And I could sit and talk about every single little segment on here, but we obviously don't have time for that. But some of the ones that are great is the one with the father who comes up from the grave, right?
Yes.
I want my cake, right? On was it Mother's Day, right? I mean, that's classic. You got Adrian Barbeau and Hal Holbrook and that whole little story about that like ape creature that they smuggle in. And it was
called that's called The Crate.
The Crate, yes. And Adrian Barbeau plays this absolute total bitch of a wife to Hal Holbrook, right? Yeah. And you just know the whole time that he's going to look to get rid of her. And as the story unfolds, you're like, all right, we know where he's going with this.
Right.
You got Stephen King himself, who's in this. He plays like this local yokel guy who a meteor lands, right? And he just starts to turn into like a human plant creature. There's that.
That's kind of like the fun, hokey one.
It is. That's a lot of fun. That one's a lot of fun. As is, what's the other one called? The one where they bury what's his face from Cheers in the sand.
Yes, him and his wife.
And it's got Leslie Nielsen in it as the guy who, and that's a lot of fun too. That's really, really cool.
Probably my favorite one.
Yeah, that's really good. And there's a bunch of other ones. There's, I think, how many in total? I think there's 5 or 6 of them in this entire thing. So I'll read them all off. So it's Father's Day, The Lonesome Death of Geordie Verrill, That's the one with Stephen King. Something to Tide You Over. That's the one with Leslie Nielsen
Right.
and Ted Danson. The
Yeah.
Crate. They're Creeping Up on You, which what was that one about again?
What's that one? Yeah, I don't remember that one.
That's the one with the guy with the cockroaches.
Cockroaches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh. I gotta watch it again. It's been a while. I forgot that one.
Yeah, that's the one with that kind of like corporate business owner guy who's like locked up in his laboratory, and he's like ordering all of his subordinates to do this, do that, do that, the other thing. He's really cruel. He's really a hard ass. And then all of a sudden the cockroaches started coming out of the walls and out of the machines there. And that there's a great scene where he gets killed by the cockroaches and they all go invade his body, and then they start breaking out through his pores, and it's pretty well done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I dig it. I think Creepshow is a hoot to watch. It's a lot of
great.
fun.
And I love the crypt keeper that's in there. And as the story evolves, and then you go to each of the stories, the page turns in the comic book.
Yep.
You know, you see the graphic designs of what's going to happen, the illustrations during the story.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, and it's like, and you mentioned the whole comic thing. So basically, this whole film was like a homage to the old EC horror comics, which were very very popular back in the 50s and the 60s. And I think they did a great job of kind of really honing in on the feel of those. And I'm a fan. It was so much fun to rewatch because I hadn't seen it in quite a long time. And the Blu-rays are really good, and it's got really good visuals and very very cool. So all right, back to you. Next one.
Okay. So going to 1983, I don't have the box though with me. It's Cujo.
Yeah, I got it up in the
You got it up there?
library. I got it up in the library. It's a good one.
So it's about a Saint Bernard that gets bit by a bat and it gets rabies. But the interesting part of the movie, when I watched it again, the first 35 minutes is actually a story about infidelity.
Yeah.
And then the story of the dog being bit is what your last hour's about. Like the infidelity still goes in and out of the story, but after that, then it's all about when the mother and who was the son? Danny Pintaro was the son, right? He's an actor from Who's the Boss?
Yep.
That was a young kid. And then Dee Wallace was the mom,
who's
from The Howling, right? And E.T. as well.
Yep.
And let's see, the father was Daniel Hugh Kelly from Hardcastle and McCormick.
Yeah, I don't think I ever watched that show, but okay. I remember he was a pretty known guy at the time.
Yeah, those were the three leads right there. So when Dee Wallace takes Danny, his character, to, I forgot why they're going someplace.
Don't they go to a mechanic shop, right?
Mechanic shop, yeah, and the car breaks down.
Yeah.
So after like 35 minutes, and when that happens, this is after the father figures out that his wife is cheating on him. And he goes away on a business trip. So she takes her son and they go to the mechanic shop. So that's when the car breaks down, right? And that's when the dog, the St. Bernard, is out there already bit by the bat, and he's got the rabies already. And that's when he starts attacking them. Yeah. And they get trapped in the car. So the whole movie, the second half of the movie is all about them being trapped in the car and trying to survive.
Yeah. It's actually the movie is very claustrophobic in a kind of way, you know?
Yes, because the kid, he has a problem breathing at a couple points because it's very hot out. So they're trapped in the car and there's no air. So that's happening. And then the mother, whenever she tries to get out and get into there's a house there too. I think it's a house actually. I don't think it's a repair shop. It was just a house.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think the repair shop was another part of the story.
That could be.
Yeah, I forgot why they were going to the house.
They broke down and then they were near that house or something like that because the Saint Bernard was owned by the guy who lived in the house.
Yeah. So so the mother, whenever she tries to get out of the house out of the car to go to the house to go make a phone call or something, the dog always catches up to her and she's got to run back to the car. And that's when the dog keeps on getting into the car and attacking her, and the kid's flipping out. It's really crazy between the kid screaming and the dog barking and the mother yelling. It does kind of drive you crazy a little after a while, you know. You have to hit the mute button. Like, geez, it's really some good acting, right?
Yeah.
So that's a good one. The effects, the way they cut it between the live action of the dog, the poor dog that's covered in mud and blood and everything else. That dog was like a trooper, right?
He was totally a trooper, because that dog was probably big, because Saint Bernards are big and cuddly. They don't have a mean bone in them, and
yeah,
that's some good training to get him to do all that stuff.
Yes, the way they edited that, between that and whatever they used for the fake, dog to do close-ups and things like that, you can't even tell the difference. You would think that the dog was really attacking the woman.
Yep.
So yeah, that's another good one. And not going to tell you how it ends, but they get out. They do. It's a happy ending.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I haven't seen that in quite a while. Like I said, I have it. I just need to rewatch it again. But I've seen it plenty of times. It's a pretty tense movie. Definitely.
It is.
Tense.
It's definitely. But it's interesting how it starts out like that. It's like one story in the beginning, and then it changes to the other part.
Yeah, Stephen King at times is really great at writing stories where the monsters are actually very normal, and people as monsters, or animals we know and love as monsters, sometimes kids as monsters, right? It's like there's not always like in Salem's Lot an actual monster, right? Sometimes the monsters are things that we see every day and what have you.
Yeah.
So,
right. Yeah.
very cool. That's why that story works so well, and the terror that a situation like that can bring about, right?
Right. And there hasn't been since then too many movies like that about a dog, a cat or whatever it may be, something that's domesticated that can really hurt you. And you've always heard those stories, don't play with the neighbor's dog because you don't know, or don't touch that raccoon that's in the sewer type of thing,
Yeah, exactly. Because you never know.
This is what can happen. Yeah.
Yep. All right. My next choice is also from 1983. And this is Dead Zone. Right. Oops, right there. Christopher Walken. So directed by none other than David Cronenberg. Okay.
Who did, wait, don't tell me I know, Reanimator.
Not Reanimator. He did a ton of movies. He did
was it Reanimator?
No, that was Stuart Gordon, actually. He did Scanners.
That's
Videodrome, Crash. I could read you. Hold on, I'll read you a bunch of his. What else? Rabid. Shivers.
Yep.
The Brood.
Don't know that one.
The Fly. He did the remake of The Fly.
The remake. That's where I know his name from. That's
Ringers.
Probably one of the best. That's probably one of the best remakes ever. The Fly.
Oh, it's definitely. But he was on a roll, man, because he did Shivers, Rabid, The Brood, Scanners, Videodrome, Dead Zone, The Fly, Dead Ringers, Naked Lunch, and then he did Crash in '96, which was pretty popular. He also did Eastern Promises with Viggo Mortensen. So he has done a lot of really notable horror films, including this one. And I will say Dead Zone is probably, I wouldn't say it's so much horror. It's more kind of like a sci-fi thriller, so to speak. So basically the premise is, you got Christopher Walken. He is a teacher, right? And he's about to be married. He's got a woman that he's engaged to, very happy and whatnot. And one night he goes out, he's driving in his car late at night, and the weather's not so good. And I don't know, some kind of tractor trailer or whatever, has an accident on the road, goes sideways. He's coming the other way. He winds up crashing into the tractor trailer. Okay. And he winds up going into a coma for like 5 years. So when he finally wakes up, of course, his former fiance kind of gave up on him and went and remarried, had a kid. He's beside himself when he hears this news, but then he starts to discover that when he goes and he touches people, if there is something really bad that's going to happen to them, he gets a premonition and he sees everything. So he starts seeing, like, the nurse who's taking care of him. He, touches her and he sees that her house is burning down and her child is in the house. And he says, you need to leave here now and you need to go save your child. The house is burning. And that actually turns out to be true. So after a couple of incidents like that, people start to know him as the guy who, can kind of see the future and all that kind of stuff, things that are bad. So the whole story kind of goes, eventually he starts to get his life back together. He starts to do like private tutoring and things like that. And he tries to reconnect with his ex-fiance, even though she's married. They still have, lot of feelings for each other. But then, the whole plot of the whole second half of the story is that there's this guy, this politician, Martin Sheen, who is running for senator of Maine. I guess it's in most of these stories are in Maine.
Yeah.
And during one of the rallies, he winds up shaking Martin Sheen's hand, and he finds out that in the future, Martin Sheen becomes president and becomes this like total like asshole president who all he wants to do is like blow up the rest of the world. So he foresees this terrible thing that's going to happen. And then the whole second half of the movie is like, well, he goes to one of his doctors. He says, if you could, and this is kind of the way the whole second half of the movie goes, if you could go back in time and change history and kill Hitler, knowing what you know, would you? So that's what he's kind of torn with now. It's like, well, I know I've seen the future. I've seen what this guy is going to want to do. And during the film, we see what a dick that Martin Sheen's character is. And then the whole rest of the movie is like, well, what is he going to do that? What lengths will he go to make sure that the future is safe for everybody, so to speak? So he's kind of got this guy with these weird powers that he really can't do anything about. And he kind of feels like a freak, but, it can be put to use. To really good use. So, but really, really good acting. It's actually one of my favorite roles by Christopher Walken. And I think everybody in the film just does a great job. You got Tom Skerritt is in the film. Herbert Lom plays his doctor. Herbert Lom, has been doing movies forever. Martin Sheen, Brooke Adams plays his ex-fiance. So really, really good. Really good film. And like I was telling Rich before we went on the air, I hadn't seen this probably 25 years at least. And I rewatched it over the weekend and I couldn't take my eyes off it. I was so riveted. I'm like, this movie holds up way better than I thought. Quite good. So The Dead Zone, my number 2 pick.
Cool. It's a good segue into what I chose, actually, because I'm going with Carrie, another movie about somebody who has powers and they don't understand them and they don't know how to control them, really.
Yep.
Well, she figures it out at some point, right?
Yep.
So this is directed by Brian De Palma.
So almost every one of these films we talked about today have had superstar directors working for them.
Right. Yep. And a pretty well-known cast. So this stars Sissy Spacek. She plays Carrie White. Piper Laurie was her mother.
Yep.
Crazy mother. What a loon she is in this, right? Amy Irving. I know the face, but she's credited as doing a lot of Broadway and stuff, but I've seen her in other movies.
Yeah, she was married to Steven Spielberg. Might even still be. I don't know, but yeah.
Let's see. Nancy Allen, William Catt. William Catt was the guy that took Carrie to the prom.
Yep.
So he's from The Greatest American Hero.
Yep.
The TV show in the 80s. And you have PJ Souls.
Yep.
From the original Halloween movie, who has probably one of the best boob scenes ever in a horror movie, right? Do you like what you see? Is that what the line is?
It's something like that.
Something like that? Where she gets choked with the telephone cord?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. What a great scene that is. And who else? John Travolta.
Yep. Everybody forgets that John Travolta was in Carrie.
Yes, one of his first roles, acting, right? In a movie, in a big movie. Well, he was in Welcome Back, Kotter in the 70s, 75 to 79. So this is right around there because he has the longer hair still.
Yep.
This movie. So he's the boyfriend to the main girl who's the bully to Carrie, the blonde-haired girl.
Yeah.
Right? It's got like the Farrah Fawcett type of hair.
Yep.
So Carrie's about this girl who's basically being bullied in high school by all these girls. And throughout the movie, she's figuring out that she has these telekinetic powers because she goes to the library and reads about it. But her mother is a crazy religious person and tries to keep her under her thumb in the house and put all this religious fear on her. And as Carrie's going to school, she doesn't know how to deal with all the bullying. And she doesn't know how to deal with her mom at home, who's, pressuring her into believing all of her religious beliefs. So it's kind of like a sad movie, really.
Yeah, it is.
Until the last maybe half hour of it, when she gets control of what she can do with her powers, and then she starts turning it against other people. But up to that point, she's just being bullied by her mom and the kids at school. And you just feel so bad for the girl, right? But she gets her revenge at the end.
Yeah, it's safe to say she has pretty much a big meltdown, right?
She has a big meltdown, yes. But the guy that takes her to the prom, what's his name again? William Catt. So he takes her to the prom, which is nice because then you get that, you think something's good then going to happen for her, which is really good. But then the bullies are at the prom, and then they do something, which is that famous scene when she's covered in blood.
Yeah.
So you got to watch the movie to see how she gets covered in blood.
Yeah.
But once that happens, then she gets her revenge on everybody.
Everybody.
And she uses those telekinetic powers to start basically burning the whole auditorium down, the whole gym.
Yep. All the doors she locks all the doors, and they can't get out. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That image of her covered in red is that scene.
Yeah.
From when they're at the dance in the gym.
And I think poor Sissy Spacek, I mean, that was like probably the role of a lifetime for her. And I think she was kind of typecast after that. I mean, well, she did the country Loretta Lynn film, right? Was that?
Let me see.
I'm trying to remember.
Well, she won
an Oscar for that.
Academy Award, a Golden Globe.
Yeah.
Critics' Choice Award, Screen Actors Guild Award.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the name of that film was. She
went on and did a lot of stuff then.
Yeah.
She was in Andy Warhol's Women in Revolt. I don't know that, but there's a whole list of stuff that she did here. Coal Miner's Daughter.
Miner's Daughter. Yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
River, Crimes of the Heart, In the Bedroom, Raggedy Man, JFK, Affliction. So she's done a lot of acting.
Yeah.
But she's, mostly known for this role.
I think that one and Coal Miner's Daughter were her like probably two biggest films. Where she was like in the spotlight because it's a good one.
It's good. And then when she comes home from the prom, do you remember what happens then? When she comes home from the prom, she not only has to deal with being covered in blood, but then she has to deal with her crazy mother.
Yes. Yeah.
Who takes her religious what would you call that? Obsession, I would say, right?
Fanaticism, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And takes it to a whole new level. And Carrie has to use her powers actually on her mother in order to defend herself.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. A couple of those scenes are very ironic what the visual is that you see on screen, given what the mother's trying to push onto the daughter. You know what I'm talking about? Those couple scenes?
Yeah. Yep.
Which is symbolic of being crucified on the crucifix. So there's that happens. And there's really cool scene too when she gets locked in the closet when the mother's trying to make her read the Bible. Did you ever notice the cross? There's a crucifix that's in the closet with Jesus on it. But I don't know if it's her, probably her, not the mother. There's like arrows that are stuck in Jesus' chest and everything. And then when she's looking at the Jesus on the cross, the eyes are glowing.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, adds to the real eeriness behind what's happening in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I thought De Palma did a fantastic job on that. I mean, De Palma was putting out some serious films right around that time.
Yeah, and this is serious.
Yeah, it is. I'm trying to remember because it's, I read Carrie a long time ago. I mean, I don't remember when Carrie was published as a book, but I read it not long afterwards because I always have read everything that this guy put out. And I remember, a lot of times if you read the book first, you always kind of, and then you watch the movie, you kind of like, the movie doesn't quite hit the highs of the book and whatever. Yeah. But I remember that film being pretty comparable to the book. Yeah. Both being really good. And I think that's, if you're like talking about like, the top 5 adaptations of his books, as far as films go, you got to say Carrie's up there.
Yeah, it's a twisted story. Yeah, and this is 76 when the movie came out, and there's a couple scenes in there too. This is before political correctness and kind of things like that you can't do in movies. There's the one scene when John Travolta smacks his girlfriend in the face.
Yeah,
she gives her like a crack.
Yeah,
and then the gym teacher, when she gets insulted by one of the students, she smacks her in the face.
Yeah.
It's like you couldn't do that stuff, and even in the 80s.
Yeah.
But in the 70s, I think some things like that were happening, and no one said anything.
They turned a cheek to it. Yeah, it was a little more acceptable. Yeah.
A lot of that kind of stuff. But there's a funny scene though when John Travolta smacks the girlfriend in the face. Do you know what happens after that?
I don't remember.
She performs something on him in the front seat while he's driving.
Of course, because that's normally what would happen, right?
Right. And she's talking to him and she's saying his name and she's saying, "I want you to do something for me," while she's in the middle of doing that act. Like, how are you doing that at the same time as you're doing that? So I was dying laughing when I was watching it. I totally forgot about it. When I watched it again, I was like, wow, that's fucking fun.
I forgot. I have it out because I want to rewatch it this weekend because I haven't seen it in a long time. But
It's hysterical. You're gonna be like, all right, how are you doing that and that?
after you just got belted across the mouth, right?
Right after you just got cracked across the face. So funny. I was dying.
Oh man, yeah, I'm looking forward to rewatching that.
Yeah.
All right, so my last choice of the day here, I decided to go with the most recent thing that has come out. So It Part 1 and Part 2.
Oh, nice. I need to get that, the 2-on-1.
Yeah, this is not easy to find, but get it because it's cool to have them both in one set, and it looks spectacular on Blu-ray.
Did they edit it together so it flows as one movie, or they cut it together as two separate movies?
Two separate.
Two separate. Okay.
Yeah. And because this is pretty long. I mean, each film is like 2.5 hours long. So it's like you got 5 hours worth here. But the book that it's based on is massive. It's like
the Bible.
It's like 1,000-something pages, right? I mean, it's enormous. So it's not surprising. Originally they did a mini series, and that's this one right here, right? That's
and the mini series was very good.
I thought so too. Yeah. The only limitation on the miniseries is because it was on television, maybe not as graphic as it could have been, right? Whereas here they kind of pulled no punches. So this has got plenty of gore and crazy, scary scenes, and I would say this is pretty frightening 2 films here. So the first one came out in 2017. I think the follow-up came out a year and a half later. Directed by Andy Muschietti. I'm not sure if he did both of them or not, but the first film basically focuses on the first part of the book, which is when all the cast were kids. All right, so from the whole, Richie or Georgie getting pulled into the sewer, right, which is pretty crazy kind of opening to this film.
And they never did it like that in the TV series.
No, not like they do in here. Yeah,
this one they show it's graphic. It's great.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I will say the guy who played Pennywise in the new film is psychotic. As great as Tim Curry was as Pennywise in the original, pretty tame compared to what kind of goes on here.
Yeah.
And the feeling of dread and terror that you get throughout this whole film is crazy. Yeah. And you really kind of they did a great job, I think, in the first film with helping you get to know the kids. And I think all the actors that they chose were really good in their roles. And it's funny because I read it like so long ago, like 30, 35 years ago, that once I started watching specifically the new adaptation, it kind of brought me back to the book all over again. And I thought they were very true to the original book. And then in the second film in this series here is when they're all adults and they actually get called back to Derry to deal, because they thought at the end of the first film they thought that they killed Pennywise, and in actuality not the case. 20 years later he's back and they got to go back and finish the job. So but really good special effects, good makeup effects. There's CGI in spots, but they use a lot of like puppets and actual real special effects, not just computer generated stuff. There's plenty of blood and gore and lots of really shocking, scary moments. And I think the acting is superb. You got Jennifer Chastain is in the film, plays Beverly, the lead character. You'll know what's his name? The guy who plays Professor X in the new X-Men films.
X-Men films, right?
Yeah, I forget I can never remember his name. He also is in this as well.
The kid from Stranger Things. One of the leads from Stranger Things, he's in it too. I forgot his name, but he's in it. I don't remember his name. He's in it as well. So a good chunk of the cast you've probably seen before, but really, really well done. And I rewatched this again this past weekend with our grandson, and he was really good through the first film, and then about maybe a half hour into the second, he was like, I'm getting really freaked out by this. This is scaring the crap out of me. Well, he didn't actually say that because he's only 4.5, but
Really good, really good. And I think I'm gonna have to go watch the miniseries now that I kind of did this and just kind of compare them. But
That's one of the few times where a remake works and it's a good upgrade from the original. Like we said with The Hills Have Eyes. Hills
yeah,
Have Eyes remake was so much better than the original. The original's fine for what it is, just like the original It TV series. But this, you can apply the technology. The special effects are much better.
yeah,
Everything looks better. You can tell the whole story now. Out of two movies, it's much better upgrade.
yeah, yeah. They did a great job on it. And I think what really sells this movie, or the movies, I should say, is that whether it's the first part of it where they're kids or the second where they're adults, you really feel their terror of
Oh
this
yeah,
clown creature. I mean, not
right.
only are you watching and you're kind of like, oh my God, this is kind of freaking me out as a viewer, you get that feeling of dread from the cast. And that's
Because
so important.
because everybody's past is their nightmare that Pennywise brings to life,
Yes. Yep.
and that's why
Absolutely.
it works so well.
Absolutely. So we're talking about the kind of remakes here. So I actually I haven't watched it yet, but I do need to see the Pet Cemetery remake from 2019 right there.
It's
So this
cool.
this this collection has both the original
Remake.
and the remake.
Yeah, the remake's fine.
Is it good? I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
Need
it's
to watch that.
enjoyable. I still like the first one better,
Okay.
but the remake works.
That's
They
what
kind
I've
of
heard. That's what I've
they
heard.
change one or two things, but it's not anything major.
Okay. And I got to rewatch The Stand because I haven't seen that since it was first aired. So I just picked
Yeah,
this up
same here.
recently. Yeah, I got some stuff to watch. So this other collection's got it's got Salem's Lot, The Shining, Creepshow, Cat's Eye, It from 1990, Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, and Dreamcatcher.
Never really liked Cat's Eye.
Uh, I haven't seen it in a million years, so I don't even remember
Yes,
what it's like.
that and Firestarter. I was like,
Yeah, Firestar's okay. It's all right.
yeah,
The Green
no,
Mile is great. That's
yes,
awesome.
yeah, incredible. Yeah.
I will say though, I watched probably the worst Stephen King adaptation last weekend. I think it was on Showtime or something like that.
Um,
Maximum Overdrive.
yeah, that's pretty bad.
Oh, that is awful.
Yeah,
That is really bad. Really bad. I was like,
yeah.
I had
Killer
forgotten how bad
Crocs.
that was. I went to see that in the theaters
Or,
back when it first came out,
yeah,
and I hadn't seen it since. Now I know why I didn't bother watching it again after that.
right.
I
The
turned it off
one
halfway
thing,
through. I was like, oh,
the one thing most of these horror movies had going for them in the '80s was you were sold on the posters.
yeah, yeah.
The posters sold you, so you didn't have a chance to even know if it was good or bad. You just had to go on what the box art looked like, right?
I know. Yeah, exactly. And the soundtracks are usually pretty good on them too,
Yeah,
for the most part. There's some good, a lot of good like '80s rock and metal bands would appear in a lot of these soundtracks. But
true, true. Yep.
I don't know. So there
Yeah.
you have it, everybody. Some additional Stephen King film adaptations for you. There's more, obviously, but for now we'll hold off on these. Maybe we do a part 3 at some point. We'll see. But don't touch that dial because we got more Monsters Den coming up fairly soon. So Rich Catino and I are going to be joined by Chris Allo, and we're going to talk all about stop motion creature photography effects, right? So, Ray Harryhausen, Willis O'Brien, all the usual suspects. So we're each going to talk about 3 films that we picked out that utilize this old school technology of monster making and talk about these really cool films. So that's coming up. We haven't set a date yet, but you'll see that within the next week. So stay tuned for that. And Rich and I are getting back together this coming weekend. We're going to do a show all about our top 10 favorite thrash albums of all time. So if you're a thrash metal fan, Rich and I think we're going to be joined by Stephen Keeler as well, are going to offer up our 10 favorite thrash albums. So that should be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for that.
Sounds
and
good.
A lot more coming here on the channel, including tomorrow night, Mr. Rob Halford himself coming on the channel to chat one-on-one with me about his new book and the 50th anniversary of Judas Priest, and we'll see what else we talk about. So that's coming
exciting.
up tomorrow. Yes, very exciting. So
Congratulations. I didn't know that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Tell him for the 50th anniversary tour, I want to hear Hot for Love.
Hot for Love. Okay, I will do that.
Off Turbo. Love that song. Always love that song. He's probably going to be like, what? Hot for Love?
He's probably like, I hate that album, Rich. Forget it.
Well, they did Out in the Cold last tour, remember?
Yes, yes.
And that was so good.
Yeah, yeah. That last tour was great. I mean, they pulled out a lot of good stuff on that last tour.
Mhm.
So,
Absolutely.
so there you have it, guys. Stay tuned for all this upcoming programming. And down in the comments below, let's talk some more Stephen King films. So let us know what you think of these and any others that are your favorites. And we'll see you again on the Monsters Den real soon. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube. Come on, Rich. All the damn time.
But all the damn time.
All the damn time. There we go.
I was stuck there. I was like,
it's like, what is he waiting for me to say?
Yeah.
Take care, guys. Have a good night. Stay tuned.
Night,
Nick Franco
Thanks.
and I are going to be talking some Enslaved coming up momentarily, so you don't want to miss it. Take care. Bye-bye.